Hey, welcome back everybody, it's your boy Asian Psycho, aka Sniper98, and we're back for another video on where and how to farm Ascension materials in the game. So it's been almost 4 months since I put out the first video, and that was back in the dark ages when farming for shit was absolutely horrible. Now, however, with London and Okeanis now made available to us, you can now farm for all of the Ascension materials in the game as of this video, either through free quests or through class dailies. This is gonna be a really long video, so grab a snack or a drink, buckle in, and let's get started. Some things I want to mention about the strats and setups first though. I'm going to assume that you have your servants at max level and your servant skills all at least level 4, and that you have at least one whale on your support whose servants you can rely on. Also keep in mind that these strats and setups aren't at all meant to be followed strictly, and that you should amend them wherever you need to in accordance with your own personal servant list and craft businesses. Now let's talk about the essential materials in this game in general. I've mentioned this in the previous video, but for all the newcomers out there, I'll repeat this again. Materials are split into 3 tiers that are all determined by overall rarity. The first tier has Hero Proofs, Dragon Fangs, Evil Bones, and Void's Dust. These materials generally have the highest drop rates in terms of overall essential materials and all drop in silver boxes. The exception to this is Void's Dust, which drops in gold boxes. The only time that the other materials also drop in gold boxes are during events, but since this video excludes events, we won't have to worry about that. The second tier consists of Seeds, Lanterns, Crystals, Serpent Jewels, Phoenix Feathers, Eternal Gears, Forbidden Pages, Homunculus Babies, and Meteoric Horseshoes. These all drop in gold boxes, and these can all be farmed in story free quests. The third tier contains Chaos Claws, or just Talons, Hearts of the Foreign God, and Dragon's Reverse Scales. These are the rarest items in the game to farm, and they also only drop in gold boxes. And with the exception of Talons, Hearts and Scales can only be farmed in specific class dailies, meaning that in the current state of the game, you can't farm them whenever you want. All essential materials in the game so far also have specific enemies that drop them, meaning that if a particular enemy type shows up, they will have a chance to drop whatever material is tied to them, most of the time, outside of weird instances like interludes that may or may not give you guaranteed essential material drops. And if you encounter more than one of the same enemy type in a node or a quest, they all have the possibility of dropping you their materials, which means that you can get multiple drops in a single fight. Throughout this video, I'll be listing off percentage numbers, which refer to the probability that you'll get an essential material that you're looking for. These percentages tell you what your chance is of having any number of materials drop for you in any given run of farming that you're doing. These percentages are also crowdsourced, not official numbers, and I'll provide the link to the spreadsheet that has these numbers in the video description below. And finally, for the sake of time, as this video is inevitably going to be very long, I'll only be discussing the nodes where you have the best chance to farm a particular material. There are nodes where it's possible to farm a certain material from any one of them, but usually in this game there's one node that has the best drop chance for that particular material over all the others. So we'll only be covering the best nodes for each of the materials in the game. So now that we've covered all our bases once again, let's get started. We'll begin with the first tier of essential materials and work our way up, so let's talk about hero proofs first. Soldier or zombie type enemies drop hero proofs, and their best node is the pirate ship node in Okeanis, the very first node, and it has a 59.8% chance to drop you a hero proof per run. The pirate ship node is pretty easy to farm because the most threatening enemy is the pirate in the third wave with over 13,000 HP. For both free-to-play and whales alike, a berserker team can easily farm this. If you're a whale and you have limit broken K-scopes, save it for the last wave to one-shot it. You can also use a team of archers in case you don't have too many berserkers since this node has no lancers. Hero proofs also drop fairly commonly in the Knight class dailies, i.e. the Saber, Archer, and Lancer dailies, and they can even drop in the Berserker dailies too, since there are Berserker class zombies who show up there. So in case you're also farming for other materials at the same time, be on the lookout for hero proofs to drop too. The skeletons drop evil bones, and the best node for them is the XG node in Fuyuki, but you do have to beat Shadowherk there if you haven't already cleared his free quest in order to gain access to the repeatable XG node, which has a 64.1% chance of dropping you a bone each run. This node should be relatively easy too, just use some decently leveled berserkers since none of the enemies go too far over 10k health. If berserkers are in short supply and you're free to play, I recommend Caesar and Fergus along with a support berserker to help you take out the starting 2 saber skeletons and the archer skeleton in the second wave. And in case you're wondering why I'm recommending the XG node instead of the XC node due to the difference in AP cost, the general rule of thumb for farming materials in this game is that the more expensive the AP cost, the more difficult the mission, and thus the better the drop rates for materials, which means that in the long run, you're better off doing harder missions with better drop rates than easier missions with worse drop rates. Since evil bones are such a common drop, I actually recommend farming other nodes because the time that you spend farming bones could be used also to farm other things at the same time, like Germania, Clerkenwell, and Hyde Park. That, and there'll be events with lotteries that give you a lot of bones anyway. Both Dragon-Tooth Warriors and Wyverns drop Fangs, and Wyvern Island in Okeanos boasts the highest drop rate at 50.1% for free quests. However, due to reports of Wyvern Island having really bipolar luck for a lot of people, I'll personally recommend the Rider class dailies, either the 30 AP or 40 APs. The 30s have the best chance at 55.4%, but the 40s are only marginally worse, and you also have a slightly better chance of farming scales at the 40s. So only farm 30s if you don't think you have a team strong enough to clear 40s consistently, or if you're just low on AP. For Wyvern Island, for a free-to-play setup, bring Assassins, Cursed Armasan, and Jinkei for Stargen, and Regen for crit damage, for example. And make sure to bring a support jack to carry you. Be careful of frontlining Berserkers, cause if you can't charge their MPs fast enough, the Wyverns can kill them fast, since they tend to crit a lot. Stack your backline with either more Assassins or Berserkers for cleanup duty. For a Whale setup, this can easily be 3-turned with AoE Zerkers and Scopes, since all the enemies in this node can be wave cleared by any max-leveled Zerk AoE NP. The only one who'll give you a hard time is the Evil Wyvern in the third wave, but with more Zerk face cards, that shouldn't be a problem. If you don't have access to a triple limit broken K-Scope setup, and only have normal scopes, remember that the Mages Association Mystic Code has the 20% charge skill, or bring a support waiver to help charge someone's NP for you. But just remember that Waver is a caster, and the enemies here are all Riders. For the Rider dailies, for free-to-plays, bring Phantom, since he's the only assassin in the game right now with an AoE NP, and his charm skill can sometimes be useful in installing the Rider servant bosses, almost all of whom are female. Also bring Cursed Arm, and of course Jack. If your support Jack has limit broken K-Scope, that's all the better. But if she doesn't, use the first 2 waves to charge her MP first, so that she can do big damage against the Rider boss servant in the third wave. Even for Whales, Phantom is good just because of his AoE MP. Steno isn't good in Rider dailies because her kit is anti-male, which is bad since there's only 2 male Rider servants in the game, and neither of them are boss servants. Bring Carmilla or Jack instead, as both of them deal bonus damage against females with their NPs, and if Jack's strong enough, she can outright one-shot the bosses with her MP and leave the other enemy open to follow-up face cards. So bring Phantom, Jack, and another wave clear of your choice. Because of possible Fafnir spawns that you might encounter while farming Rider dailies, I highly recommend against frontlining Berserkers, especially for free-to-plays. Even for Whales, if you're not using Plug Suit, it can be tricky beating the dragon, since you need to blow your other wave clear MP on it, since you're saving Jack's MP for the servant boss the next round. And since the dragon is only a single enemy, the MP won't do as much damage as it should because it's AoE. Shadow Servants are the primary source of Void's Dust. The enemy pillars that you fight in some of the story singularities also drop them, but obviously you can't farm them. The Quiet Cove node in Okeanos has the best chance of Void's Dust drops for free quests at 22.6%. And since Shadow Servants show up in every class daily, if there's a particular class daily that you're looking to farm anyway, you may as well go for Void's Dust there too, though I'd recommend the 30s or 40s. For Quiet Cove and a free-to-play setup, bring Uriel, David, or Robin, whoever's your strongest. Uriel's MP deals bonus damage against males, which makes her perfect against Shadow Herc. David has a strong NP and gives your team more survivability with his evade skill, and Robin can nuke Shadow Herc with his poison and NP combo. While Media Lily isn't really a big threat on her own, in case you're concerned that she might cause you some trouble, bring Ushi to take her out, and a support Gil, or Drake, or just plain old Waver as usual. Make sure to charge everyone's NPs before the third wave so that you can take out both Shadow Herc and Media Lily at the same time. For a Whale setup, you can 3-turn this by bringing 1 wave clear and 2 single targets. Face card the first wave since they're the weakest at only about 8k health each, NP the second wave, and then use your other 2 single target NPs to take out both Shadow Servants at the same time. A strong Drake can also potentially solo the third wave with proper buffs and a Brave Chain. Also keep in mind that Shadow Herc and Media Lily have a chance to also drop Monuments as their gold drop, so Void's Dust aren't guaranteed. Moving on to the next tier of Ascension materials, Seeds of Yggdrasil can be dropped by Goblins, Werewolves, Were-Jaguars, or Bronze tier Amazons. Bountiful Seas in Okeanos has the best chance for Seeds of Yggdrasil at 30.8%. This is a hidden free quest, so to access it you need to first clear Quiet Cove 3 times to unlock the Bountiful Seas as a node. You can also farm seeds in any of the Knight class dailies or the Assassin dailies, since the enemies who drop seeds occupy these classes. I personally vouch for the class dailies, since in my experience they seem to drop more seeds than in Bountiful Seas. But if you want to farm seeds at the Bountiful Seas node, for a free-to-play setup, bring Ku, since the archer enemies in the second and third waves both have high HP, and you need a lancer who can keep himself alive long enough to do damage against them. Arash turn 1 MP is definitely recommended here if you can make it happen, and put Fergus as your fourth to replace him when he dies, and bring a support waiver for buffs and to charge Fergus's MP so that he can MP the second wave, and then have Ku take out the archer. MP the third wave archer with Ku if he's got his MP charged, and put other lancers in your backline like Leonidas or Ku Proto in case Fergus goes down. Try to keep Fergus alive as long as possible so that he can take out the third wave lancer. If you can't Arash MP the first wave, start with Ku, David, and Waver, and try to charge up Ku's MP as much as you can. I recommend David due to his team evade skill. David is only there for DPS against the Sabres in the first wave, and once you clear it, use Plugsuit to replace him with Fergus, but since David can charge his MP easily, use his MP first if he's got it before plugging him out. Make sure to put Fergus as your sixth, so that if Fergus goes down in later waves, your Lancer backups can come in before David does. For Wales, you can 3-turn this with a Zerg team, but I recommend bringing both Lancelot and Fran, with the third Zerg being your choice. Clear the first wave with your third Zerg of choice, then NP the second wave with Lancelot. He can solo second wave if he's got a Brave Chain or with Buster face cards from other Zergs. Lastly, bring a really strong Fran because her Overload skill massively boosts her MP damage. Plugsuit Waver in for buffs if you need to as well, and she'll output enough damage to clear third wave on her own. Ghosts drop lanterns, and there's only 2 free quests where you can farm them right now, so lanterns are one of the hardest mats to farm for in the game, just be warned. Those 2 free quests are Mount Etna in Septim and Stormy Seas in Okeanos, but Stormy Seas has a much better drop rate of 22.3%. You can also farm lanterns in the Assassin class dailies, with the 40s naturally having the best chance at 17.5%. For a free-to-play Stormy Seas setup, bring offensive casters. Caster Liz is one of the best since she can self-buff her NP with Mana Burst, and so is Shakespeare since he has a party Buster buff skill and also has a Buster NP. A support Waver who's got Fomalcraft equipped is also very good since against assassins he can do good damage just because of class advantage. Also be careful of bringing Berserkers to this node as well, because the ghost enemies all have skills that can drain your servant's NP gauges, and since Zergers usually have a hard time charging their NPs, that could be very annoying. Cancers on the other hand don't really need to worry about this at all, since just about all of them except for Babbage and maybe someone else have AAA decks. For Whales, bring 3 wave clears and you can mix and match offensive casters and Zergers. Caster Liz at level 80 and with level 4 Mana Burst can do enough damage on the third wave so that face cards can finish off the stronger ghosts there. Assassin dailies are tricky because we don't really have any strong offensive single target casters, which means I'm not talking about Media. For free-to-plays, bring offensive casters, as usual, and a very strong support single-target berserker like Kintoki or Herc, so that they can take out Carmilla at the end. Keep in mind that assassin enemies all have a 3-turn NP gauge, meaning that you need to kill them fast before they start throwing their NPs at you. Golems drop crystals, and the best free quest node to farm them is 2 currency in Okeanos at 11.1%. However, the Berserker class dailies have better drop rates at 16% for the 30s, though I tell you to go for 40s for the increased chance of getting a Chimera spawn for possible Talon drops. For a free-to-play 2 currency setup, bring whoever your strongest servants are. The most threatening enemies are the Golems, and by default they're all Berserkers, so basically you need to kill them before they do too much damage to you. Bring a strong support servant with an AoE MP to clear the third wave for you, and the Archer Pirates shouldn't really pose much of a threat. For Whales, just bring 3 wave clears and you're good. For a free-to-play Berserker daily setup, your best bet is to rely on teams that can charge their NPs fast to take out the second and third waves quickly. Although you could still rely on a support Waver, a support Drake may be better here due to her damage output and good MP charge gain. A possible team could be Alex, Ushi, and Drake, since they all have 2 arts cards. Both Alex and Ushi have Charisma, and Drake has Voyager of the Storm to use on the final wave. Alex clears the second wave, and Ushi uses her MP with Drake's on the third wave to deal heavy damage to both the Servant boss and the other enemy. For a whale setup, the same ideology applies. Face card the first wave, then use an AoE MP on the second wave to clear, then use a single target MP and AoE MP to clear third wave. Drake is one of the best servants for the third wave, and Ushi or Mary or any non-berserker single target MP can finish off the servant boss. Or if you have access to a quadruple limit broken K-scope setup, use Plug Suit to MP clear everything. Naga or Lamia enemies drop snake jewels, and the only free quest where you can farm them is the Sunken Ship node in Okeanos. You can also farm them in caster class dailies, with the 40s having the best chance at 27.3%. I would recommend the class dailies, since you can also try to farm for hearts at the same time, and in my experience, snake jewels are very common if you farm 40 casters to any extent, but that could just be me. For a free-to-play Sunken Ship node setup, use Arash turn 1 MP if you can, because he can clear the first wave by himself and bring in your next servant to be ready for the second wave. If you can't, bring a Lancer to help you take out the starting Archer Skellies quickly, but for the most part, you need to stack your lineup with Riders, since Lamias and Nagas are all casters. Ushi is mandatory if you don't have Santa Altar, since her MP can take out the boss Naga in the third wave, and use AoE Rider MPs for both the second and third waves, or save them all for the third wave and just face card the Lamia in the second wave to death. If you do have Santa Altar, if she's got good enough levels and with good buffs, she could probably clear third wave on her own. For whales, an AoE Zerk and double AoE Rider combo is good enough. Use Zerk NP on first wave, your first AoE Rider MP on second wave with face card support, and then third Rider MP on third wave. A strong enough Drake can solo third wave very easily. For caster class dailies, bring 2 AoE Riders and 1 single target Rider. A strong support Drake is, once again, one of your best support options. If you're free to play, Ushi is pretty much a must here, along with another AoE Rider of your choice, either Alex for his charisma, or Blackbeard for his own Voyager the Storm skill. And if you're a whale, I'll personally recommend a Santa Altar, Drake, and Mary team composition. Amazon leaders or queens drop feathers or plumes, or in other words, the silver or gold tier Amazons. Only the Bountiful Seas node in Okeanos can drop feathers along with seeds for free quests, which we've already discussed earlier in this video. You can also pick up feathers from any of the Night class dailies, since Amazons can be any of the Night classes. By far, however, the best place to farm for feathers is the 30 AP Saber class daily with a 17.4% drop chance. The reason why 30 AP Saber dailies have such a high chance is because of how class dailies work. Usually the higher the AP cost of a quest, the better your drop rates. But in this case, for some reason, the Saber class dailies don't have silver tier Amazons, or the Amazon leaders, while both the Lancer and Archer dailies do. Which means that for the Saber dailies, only either the bronze or the gold tier Amazons show up as enemy spawns. Enemy rarity also determines the chance of their rare Ascension material drops, which explains why, if you've noticed while farming in the past, the gold tier enemies generally tend to drop gold boxes much more often than their lower tier enemy counterparts. So in this case, the gold Amazons have a much higher chance to drop feathers than silver Amazons who don't even show up at all in Saber dailies. In addition, in Lancer and Archer dailies, since their feather drops are spread out over the silver and gold tier Amazon spawns, that means that in those dailies, if a gold Amazon drops a gold chest, it'll be a gold gem more often than not, since the silver Amazons can also drop feathers too. But like we've already established, since there are no silver Amazons in the Saber dailies, that means that the loot table of feathers and saber gold gems, or cookies as we like to call them, need to be shared in the same enemy type, the gold saber Amazon. And since cookies and gems are generally meant to have better chances of dropping the more expensive the AP cost of the quest, that means that Phoenix feathers have an abnormally high drop rate in the 30 APs because cookies are intended to be rare in 30 AP dailies, which means that the rest of the loot table needs to be occupied by feathers. I don't know why I thought explaining that was so necessary, so let's just move on. For a free-to-play 30 AP Saber daily setup, just bring all archers. Robin is great here because if he lands his poison skill and has his MP ready, he can nuke Salter in one shot, or at the very least heavily damage her. Bring a support archer or single target berserker to take out Salter in case you don't have a strong Robin. For whales, face card the first wave, MP clear the second wave, and then use both an AoE and single target MP on the third wave to take out both Salter and the other enemy spawn. Also note that you can actually get a double feather drop, since 2 gold Amazons can spawn in one run, one in the second wave and then one in the third wave with Salter. Automaton or Helter-Skelter enemies drop gears, and the best node to farm them is Clerkenwell. But the spreadsheet that I'm pulling drop data from also says that Regent Park technically has a better drop chance, but the sample size for Regent Park is a lot smaller than the one for Clerkenwell, so I'll be recommending the latter for now. But do try out both and see which node is better for you. Also take note that while class dailies right now can't be farmed for gears, when the America chapter hits, the class dailies will be updated to have enemies who can drop gears, if I'm getting my JP information correct, that is. For a free-to-play Clerkenwell setup, bring offensive casters and use the first wave of Skellies to charge everyone's MPs. For your support, bring a very strong Fran with a high MP level and highly leveled overload skill if you have one available. Otherwise, Lancelot with Limit Broken K-Scope can't completely wave clear on his own unless he's grailed and has max stats, but he can do big damage against everyone and can make cleaning up a lot easier. For a whale setup, bring Caster Liz and 2 AoE Zerks. Face card the first wave, then use 1 AoE MP on the second wave, whichever you want, and then clear the third wave with the other 2. Again, a very strong Fran can make farming this node a lot easier. Spellbooks drop pages, and the best node for them is at Hyde Park, which, like Bountiful Seas, is a hidden free quest that you need to unlock by first clearing Soho free quest 3 times. And like Gears, pages won't be available in class dailies until after the second class daily revamp with the America chapter. For a free-to-play Hyde Park setup, bring Santa Alter because with her mana burst, she can do big damage against the spellbooks, all of whom have a ton of HP. I'd recommend bringing a strong support Drake over a Waver here, just because Drake's big damage and Voyager's Storm skill are pretty much crucial here to do lots of damage fast. And surprisingly enough, a level 60 MP5 Arash can clear first wave on his own because Stella does so much frickin' damage that class disadvantage doesn't matter. But I recommend using the first wave to charge NPs over that. AoE Riders are the way to go here along with Santa Alter and Drake. For whales, Santa Alter and Drake are also just as strong, and you can even run a double Drake setup because why not? And now that we have Anniversary Blonde, a strong Drake can easily solo third wave too. Homunculi drop Homunculus Babies, and Southwark has the most consistent drop rate of 15.1%. I say most consistent instead of best, because according to the spreadsheet, apparently the City of London Free Quest has a 60.4% drop rate. But, after testing it myself using a admittedly very tiny sample pool of 10 to 12 runs, I only got 2 Homunculus Baby drops out of it, so I'm not really sure how valid that drop rate is. So for the purposes of this video, I'll only be covering Southwark, but if you want to take your chances and farm City of London, feel free. Also, just like Gears and Pages, Homunculus Babies can't be farmed in class dailies until after the America update. For a free-to-play Southwark setup, bring strong Sabers. Fergus is definitely a must-pick for this, along with Caesar for his skills and single-target NP. The skeletons aren't too big of a deal, but you should take them out first because they still are archers at around level 45, which means that they can do some bad damage if you let them. If you have a strong AoE support Saber, bring them along too. For a whale setup, bring any 3 AoE Sabers. Mordred, Salter, and Saber are prime choices here thanks to Mana Burst, since the gold Homunculi both have over 80k HP. Centaurs drop Meteoric Horseshoes, and the only free quest that drops them is Caldera Island in Okeanos with a 12.6% drop chance. And again, same deal with Gears, Pages, and Babies, where they won't be available in class dailies until after the America update. For a free-to-play Caldera Island setup, concentrate on bringing archers and a support Jack. Bring Nobu if you have her, since you'll synergize well with her. Use your support Jack to take out the first Centaur and charge your NPs on the Saber Werewolves. Make sure that the Werewolves don't target Jack too much and provide her with heals or evades if they do, and nuke the third wave with Nobu's and Jack's NPs to take them out fast, since the Centaurs are pretty high level and can do some serious damage, especially if they crit. For a whale setup, bring Lancelot, Nyanta, and another AoE Zerk. Use the third Zerk NP to clear first wave, then Nyanta's NP to clear second, and then use the crit stars that she produces to power up Lancelot's face cards with Eternal Arms Mastership in conjunction with his NP to clear third wave. You can also use Drake because she does so much damage if leveled properly that she can easily clear third wave by herself even without class advantage, assuming that you're still using Nyanta's NP to feed Drake plenty of crit stars. A very strong Fran will also do the trick too thanks to Overload. And finally, the last tier of Ascension materials starting with Claws of Chaos, or Talons. Germania is the only free quest right now that has a chance to drop Talons, but it only has a 3.4% chance, so the much better alternative is just to wait for Berserker class dailies and do the 40s, which have an 11.5% chance instead. Chimeras drop Talons, and the one that shows up in the Berserker daily always shows up in the second wave in the back. If it drops you a gold chest, then it's a guaranteed Talon. We've already gone over setups for Berserker dailies, but just as a warning, this Chimera has a lot of HP, around 67,000 I believe, and can do some really bad damage, so you need to be able to kill it fast. If you have Lancer, Alter, or anyone with Mana Burst and an AoE MP, I recommend using them on this wave if the Chimera does spawn. However, it's a better idea just to farm them during events like Saber Wars or Valentine's, where the event nodes have guaranteed Chimera spawns. These are the times when Talons should be farmed, as many of you have already probably figured out by now. This logic also applies to Hearts and Scales as well, just keep that in mind. I'd also recommend only farming Talons, Hearts, or Scales in class dailies only if you need a few more, like 1 to maybe 3 more, for a skill or an Ascension level. Or if you're just a whale and you don't give a fuck about blowing your quartz on stupid shit. And since the America chapter is coming up soon, the Des Moines node has a 13.8% drop rate for only 18 AP according to the JP side of the spreadsheet, so look forward to that. Demons drop hearts, and there are no free quests in the game right now where you can farm hearts. The only way to get them is through events or the caster class daily, either the 30 or the 40. The 30 has a 6% drop chance, while the 40 has a 7.7%. Like the Chimera, the Demon spawns in the second wave in the middle position during caster dailies. However, since he's not a Berserker like the Chimera, and you're going to be using Riders to farm caster dailies anyway, he shouldn't really be a threat at all. He'll only drop gold chests when you kill him, but it can either be a caster cookie or a heart, and usually it'll just be a salty caster cookie. So because of this, just like Talons, you should only really farm them during events where there are nodes with guaranteed demon spawns. As a heads up, according to JP players who've been playing the rerun of the Da Vinci event that we'll be getting on the N8 side too in a few months, the Da Vinci event will have a node where 2 demons can spawn in the same wave, meaning that you could get a quadruple heart drop if you're so lucky, on top of the event having a generous heart drop anyway. So save your apples for that event if you still have some left over. Only Fafnir, the huge-ass dragon that takes up almost the entire screen, drops reverse dragon scales, and he can only spawn in 30 or 40 AP Rider dailies, meaning that there aren't any free quests right now that have big-ass dragon spawns, kinda like the Hearts. The 30 AP has a 3.4% chance, while the 40 has an 8.4% chance. Like the demon, the dragon always drops a gold chest when you beat it, but it can either be, again, a rider cookie or a scale. The game seems to be more generous with scales than it is with hearts, so more likely than not, it's actually a scale, but not by much. Unlike the Chimera or the demon though, the dragon only shows up by itself due to its size, and it can attack everyone, meaning that it's always going to act 3 times, either attacking or buffing its NP. If you're a whale and you're using Plug Suit, you can use one of your assassin's NPs to take out the dragon quickly, and then plug them out for another servant who's also got their NP ready. But since you're probably not a whale, you need to rely on your support jack to take the dragon down. For this reason, I recommend that free-to-play people bring assassin-only teams, since berserkers, especially free-to-play ones, can get easily wrecked by the dragon if you're not careful, while assassins can at least survive the dragon's damage for a few turns. So that covers all the Ascension items. Now let's move on to the skill gems. With the revamped class dailies, all the class gems are now farmable in the game, unlike before the revamp where certain gems like Berserker and Assassin gems were frickin' impossible to farm. So generally speaking, blue gems can be farmed very easily in either 10 or 20 AP class dailies to the point where you're almost guaranteed a blue gem per run. Red gems can also be very easily farmed in either the 30s or 40s, and like blue gems, they're almost a guaranteed drop too. Blue gems show up in bronze chests, though they can show up in silver chests too in free quests, while red gems always show up in silver chests regardless of where you find them. Gold gems, or cookies as we like to call them, can only be farmed in 30 or 40 AP class dailies, and 40s by far have better drop rates across the board for all classes, and cookies are tied to specific enemies in each of the classes who can drop them, and they always show up in gold boxes. In the Saber, Archer, and Lancer dailies, cookies are dropped by the Gold Amazons, as I mentioned before. In the Berserker dailies, cookies are only dropped by the Crystal Golem, the special gold tier golem that's got a white color palette, and if he spawns in the 40 AP daily, he will always drop you a gold chest, which most of the time will be a Berserker cookie, though it could also be a crystal too. In the Rider Daily, the Evil Wyverns, or the Black Dragons, can drop you gold chests, which are guaranteed Rider cookies, and if they drop you silver chests, those are guaranteed Dragon Fangs instead. And as mentioned before, Big Dragon can also give you Rider cookies if he doesn't give you a scale. In the Caster Daily, the Gold Lamia can drop you gold chests, which can either be caster cookies or snake jewels. And of course, Demon Bitch can also drop you salty-ass caster cookies. And for the Assassin dailies, the gold ghost that spawns in the second wave is also guaranteed to drop you a gold chest if he spawns in the 40 AP quest, but again, like the Crystal Golem, it can either be an Assassin cookie or a Lantern, though it's more likely to be a cookie. You can get cookie drops from other places like interludes or story quests, but since those quests aren't farmable, you're gonna be doing at least a little farming in these class dailies at some point, with the exception of Hyde Park and Clerkenwell free quests where the Gold Spellbook and Automaton can drop cookies for their gold drop rewards. Some events also have cookies and gems for purchase in their shops, so make sure to check which events do have gems available. For example, the upcoming Kara no Kyokai collab will have 20 of all gems available for you to buy through the shop. And now let's round out the video with pieces and monuments. Pieces and monuments follow a similar rule set to gems. For pieces, 30 APs are almost guaranteed to give you a piece drop, though you generally have a good chance of getting a piece drop in any class daily that isn't 10 AP. You can also get piece drops from free quests from Shadow Servants if they drop you silver boxes. For monuments, you technically can get them from any class daily, but they're most common in 30s and 40s, 40s naturally having the best drop rates, starting from at least 52.4%. You can also get monument drops from free quests too from Shadow Servants if they drop you gold boxes, but those will most likely be Void's Dust since monuments are considered very rare drops in free quests. And that's a complete guide on where and how to farm all the Ascension materials in the game. Hopefully you'll find this guide informative and helpful in your own farming endeavors, and also be making yet another updated guide once the America chapter comes out because of the changes that we're anticipating for the class dailies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.